Live from our studios here at Kokomlemle in Accra, this is News Today with me, Kenneth. Jesse, our lead stories this hour. Ghana's inflation drops to 3.3% in February, the lowest since the 2021 rebasing.
This is 3.3% higher in February 2026 than they were in February 2025.
And in Fact Check today, we break down why President Mahama's claim of 1 million people finding employment between Q1 and 3 of 2025 is false. You want to stay for details of this analysis. Also ahead, Environmental Protection Authority intercepts an additional 1,070 pieces of Shanfan machines concealed in separate containers at the Tema port. Millions of livestock in West Africa are at risk of sheep and goat plague. ECOWAS prepares to roll out a massive mass vaccination campaign targeting 157 million goats and 110 million sheep in Ghana and other countries to contain a fast-spreading viral livestock disease that could affect the supply and price of goat meat, from kebab to the meat served with your fufu.
To confront peste di petit ruminant, a disease that may be invisible to the global headlines, yet it's very visible and devastating in our rural community.
16 dead in a gory accident involving ambulance and Ford Transit in the Ashanti region. This is Joy News. We are your home of independent, fearless, and credible journalism. Details after this. We begin with an inflation watch this afternoon because Ghana's year-on-year inflation rate has declined further to 3.3% in February 2026, marking the 14th consecutive monthly drop and the lowest level recorded since the 2021 rebasing of the Consumer Price Index, CPI. According to data released by the Ghana Statistical Service, the CPI for February 2026 stood at 264.4, up from 255.9 in February 2025, and this represents a 3.3% increase in the general price level over the 12-month period. On a month-on-month basis, inflation was 0.8% in February 2026, indicating that prices rose marginally between January and February this year. The February inflation rate represents a 0.5% point drop from the 3.8% recorded in January 2026 and a sharp 19.8 percentage point decline from the 23.1% recorded in February 2025.
Inflation has declined to 3.3% in February 2026. From 3.8% in January 2026 and 23.1% a year earlier. 2. Food inflation has eased significantly to 2.4% from 3.9% in January 2026 and 28.1% a year earlier. 3. Goods inflation has slowed to 3.2% from 3.7% in January 2026 and 22.6% a year earlier. 4. Imported inflation has fallen sharply to 0.6% from 2% in January 2026 and 18.5% a year earlier. 5. Regional disparities remain. Northeast region recorded the highest inflation rates of 8.9% in February 2026. While Savannah had the lowest inflation rate at negative 5.6%. And finally, but not the least, inflation today is lower, is narrower, and is more stable compared to a year earlier.
You heard government statistician breaking down the figures a while ago. More on this at 1 p.m. on Beyond the Numbers. Meanwhile, I've been joined in the studio by the head of research here at Joy News, Isaac Officiating, to break down the numbers for us. But in the meantime, though, a thorough fact check by JoyNews Research reveals that employment increased by only 690,000 between the first and third quarters of 2025, contrary to the president's claim that 1 million people secured jobs during the period. During the State of the Nation address on Friday, February 27th, President John Mahama stated that data from the Ghana Statistical Service showed 1 million people had found employment within that time frame. JoyNews Research has independently verified the figures, and we will be presenting the official data as reported by the Ghana Statistical Service. But first, let's listen to the president making that claim.
From above 30% to currently between 18 and 20%, freeing up credits for businesses and households. And according to the Ghana Statistical Services, over 1 million Ghanaians have found employment between Q1 and Q3 of 2025. Mr. Speaker,
well, that was President John Dramani Mahama on the 27th of February 2026 during his State of the Nation address in Parliament. Let's come back into the studio, and Isaac Officiating is the head of research here at Joy News. He's joining me with details of this particular fact check. Isaac, let's run through the numbers. The president made a bold claim that 1 million jobs had been created in the first quarter and the third quarter of last year. What's the verdict?
Well, Kenneth, the president was very, very clear, mentioning or referencing the Ghana Statistical Service as the reference point, that the Ghana Statistical Service, according to him, has put out data that showed that between the first quarter and the third quarter, and the president said over 1 million people had found employment. We decided to check this claim, and using data from the same organization he referenced, and we used the labor statistics, the Ghana Statistical Service quarterly labor force survey that they have been doing. And it's given us a chance to actually verify the claim made by the president. And that is how come we were able to come to that conclusion, that this particular claim is completely false. And you need to follow us in terms of how we arrive at this number. This is the chart provided by Ghana Statistical Service, and the screenshots from the labor statistics that they have put out, not our own refined, graph anyway. This is straight from the Ghana Statistical Service documents, and I need to take time to break this down. As of the fourth quarter of 2024, when the previous administration was leaving office, this is how Ghana's labor force looked like. And in terms of labor force, I meant some 20.8 people were eligible to work in Ghana. And you look at this breakdown, the light blue, 12.79 million people, or 73 million people, were those who were employed out of the 20.8 million. Some 1.9 million were unemployed, and some 6.16 were out of the labor force, right? So this was a picture. So if you're looking at the total number of people who were employed as of the fourth quarter, and this is important because that would be our reference point. Fourth quarter of 2024, 12.73 million of Ghana's labor force were employed. Now, let's do this together. If you look at last year, first and third quarter that the president mentioned, this is how the labor force looked like. 20.6, 20.4, and 20.5 million was actually the respective labor force in each of these quarters, Q1, Q2, and Q3 of 2025. Now, let's break this down. If you look at Q1, that the president referenced as a starting point, said between Q1 and Q3, Q1, 13.09 million Ghanaians, or out of the labor force, were employed, 1.92 unemployed, and some 5.58 were out of the labor force, right? And the president says that between this period, 1 million people found employment. How is this true? Check shows that this is completely false, because you're moving between 13.09, increase to total employment, 13.44. It means that within this period, employment, according to our checks, went up by some 360,000 between quarter one and quarter two.
Right.
Now, between quarter two and quarter three, what we can tell you, if you look at between the fourth quarter and the first quarter of 2025, some 360,000 people found employment. That's between the last quarter of 2024 and the first quarter of 2025. If you look at between the first quarter of 2025 and the second quarter of 2025, what we can report based on the checks we've done is that some 50,000 people found employment.
Right.
And within this period, Ken, what do you see? A dip from 13.44 million to 13.42 million, which means that per our checks, some 20,000 people left the employment space,
right,
became unemployed within this period or left the labor force. So if the president is saying that between this period, 1 million people found employment, how true is that? Because if you do the math between the periods we are looking at so far, and if you look at the fact that people left the labor force, if you are using quarter four, last quarter of 2024 to the third quarter of 2025, it means that just about 710,000 people found job, not over 1 million.
Okay.
If you are, adding to the fact that some 20,000 people left the space, then that will mean that the actual number of people who found employment within this period is some 690,000 and not the over 1 million quoted by the president. And so if we are reporting that that specific claim by the president is false, it's not because we actually manufacture the data our own. So this is publicly available. And according to the Ghana Statistical Service that the president himself referenced, not over 1 million people have found employment, but 690,000 within the period that the president actually referenced.
You've been mentioning the figures to us. So that means the net employment between quarters 1 and 3 in 2025 is 690,000 and not 1
and not
million.
Over 1 million. The president even said over 1 million.
We're
not even up to, it's not even up to 700,000 or 800,000. So you can't use over 1 million, right? And you are making reference to the Ghana Statistical Service. Data is available, it's official, publicly available. Anybody can pick this data and run the checks. And if you do that, what you realize is that 690,000 is the actual number and not over 1 million as quoted by the president.
Right, Isaac Officiating is the head of research here at JoyNews. Thank you very much. He's been breaking down those figures for us. Right, and you can get the full explanation on myjoyonline.com. It's also available across all our social media platforms. Away from that, the Environmental Protection Authority has intercepted an additional 1,070 Shanfan machines concealed in separate containers at the Tema port on Tuesday night. The latest seizure comes just weeks after the authority uncovered more than 200 Shanfan machines hidden in 14 shipping containers in a similar operation. According to the EPA officials, the scale of the latest interception is deeply alarming, particularly as the machines were reportedly destined for mining districts across the country. Well, the authority says it is intensifying surveillance at the ports and tightening controls on the importation of Shanfan machines as part of broader efforts to curb environmental degradation, especially the pollution of major water bodies. The crackdown comes amid the EPA's ongoing pilot initiative to restore polluted water bodies. Only weeks ago, the authority deployed ionic nano-copper technology to treat the heavily polluted Brim River in the eastern region at an estimated cost of $200,000 per kilometer. Well, the EPA maintains that Shanfan machines remain a major driver of the destruction of water bodies through illegal and unregulated mining activities. Officials insist the authority will no longer stand by while such equipment is smuggled into the country without proper regulation and oversight. Let's stay a bit longer on this particular subject and go onto the telephone lines right now and speak to Professor Michael Ayamga. He's the Deputy CEO in charge of operations at EPA. Professor Ayamga, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. How does the continued importation of these machines threaten the EPA's river restoration efforts, especially projects like the pilot restoration of the Brim River, which you conducted together with your boss and other stakeholders weeks ago?
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you for talking to me. I think we are all appalled by what we are discovering. It's just sickening. We got tipped off by national security that this importation was going down and these goods were about to be cleared. And on Tuesday, we rushed in there. Working with the national security, we tried to identify the importers, only stopped at the agents that imported them. But what we saw, the scale was alarming. And even whilst we were documenting this initially 940, who were taken back to South 7, and just after the whilst Mr. Bolan, that also supposed that this environment was there.
Professor Ayamga, I'm afraid I'm losing you. If you can kindly reposition yourself.
Yes, hello.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yes, so even while we were there today, 3 more containers were intercepted, and that takes the number well to over 1,200 as we speak. My team is still working on the documentation of the timing. Verifying national security. But I tell you, a grand risk going in there, and we feel that at EPA, we need to intensify our presence at the ports and then ensure that our people are at the front line looking out for these things and not merely relying on tips and intelligence. So this is a wake-up call, and we are all alarmed by it.
Right, and beyond seizures, what preventive measures are you putting in place so that we do not record these incidents again?
Yes, I spoke with our CEO yesterday. She instructed that I go to the ports to verify. So since Tuesday, I've been going there every day to do verifications. And one of the instructions was to begin to work to prosecute the importers, because this importation was done in contravention to the ban we issued on the 29th of October 2025 that placed a ban on the fabrication, importation, distribution, and sale of small motorized dredging machines, popularly called shampangs, in Ghana. And this is also in line with our environmental assessment regulation, LI 2504. Right. So we believe that we have enough legal basis to prosecute whosoever imported these things in the country. So we are working with the agents, asking them to name the importers, identify them, and we'll let them face the law. We think that if we stop at just seizing these things, they'll keep coming in. And as we speak now, we are already thinking about space to store them. Because if we adequately and properly place EEO and EPA and then national security in places where they can monitor properly and intercept these things, we won't have enough space to keep them. Right. Just judging by what we are seeing. So we think that we need to prosecute those who bring them in, and then go forward. If they are entities, we blacklist them from doing business in our ports. That will send a clear message to them that we are not joking when we say don't bring these small motorized dredging machines into our country, or what we call champagne.
Professor Ayamga, you've already mentioned that you picked this intelligence from the national security, but I want to find out from you, how long has this been going on unchecked?
As I said, initially, we wanted to, the EPA had some minor presence at the ports, and our role was largely consigned to some few activities. In fact, we are not at the front line. It's just recently that we have received training on ICOMS that will allow us to check these things. And it's just today that I inspected the office that was allocated to us at the port there. Yesterday, I was at the Ministry of Trade, speaking with the Deputy Minister, for them to send the communications to Customs so that EPA is allowed back into the front. This will now allow us to check. But from my checks, this thing has been going on for a while. And they are normally imported under so many guys. Some imported them as forklift machines.
Right.
Others said they were hand-powered tillers because the engines look similar. So if you don't examine them closely, you won't see. So I believe that it has been going on for a while, and we have all the necessary backing right from the presidency. I must add that even as I was going to the ports, I got a call from the executive secretary just indicating that their eyes are on this and they are actually watching us. That is how serious this thing is taken.
Professor Michael Ayanga, thank you very much. He's a deputy CEO at EPA. And it's lunchtime, and many of us may be enjoying a bowl of fufu, konkonte, or mutuo, or tiozafi with well-prepared goat meat in Katinkwan or Abenkwan at chop bars, bush canteens, and other eateries across the country. But there is growing concern about the future supply of goat meat. Well, the ECOWAS Regional Animal Health Center says about 157 million goats and 110 million sheep across West Africa, including Ghana, are at risk from a highly contagious viral disease known as pets de petits ruminants, commonly referred to as sheep and goat plague. Authorities say the disease will require a massive vaccination campaign across the region. The following report has more.
Your favorite goat or sheep meat served with fufu, kokonte, omuto, and other popular delicacies in Ghana could soon come under pressure. ECOWAS is raising concern about the outbreak and spread of peste de petit ruminant, a highly contagious viral disease popularly known as goat or sheep plague. The regional body says more than 150 million goats and 110 million sheep across Ghana and other West African countries are at risk, with fatality rates among infected animals reaching as high as 90%. Simon Kihu is a representative of World Organization of Animal Health at ECOWAS.
We meet to confront peste de petit ruminant, a disease that may be invisible to the global headlines, yet it's very visible and devastating in our rural communities. PPR silently erodes food security, income, and resilience. In the Sahel and the coastal zones, small ruminants are primary entry point for the livestock economy, The EU-funded Pan-African PPR eradication program, coordinated by AU-AIBA, implemented by OA, AU PANVAC, and FAO, represents a transformative partnership with the significant resources already mobilized and substantial second phase envisaged. This initiative addresses critical gaps in epidemiological intelligence, vaccination coverage, regional coordination. It enables us to identify viral reservoirs, map transmission corridors, analyze cross-border livestock movements that sustain viral presence. In essence, what we call PPL episystems. Veterinary professionals have been trained and digital tools have introduced to enable real-time monitoring of campaigns. To date, hundreds of millions of animals have been vaccinated across the participating countries.
The good news is that the disease is not zoonotic, meaning it cannot be transmitted to humans. However, experts at ECOWAS are warning it could severely disrupt livestock supply across the region, potentially driving up the price of goat's meat and threatening farmers' incomes. They say a coordinated mass vaccination campaign is now being rolled out across West Africa to contain the spread of the disease and protect livestock populations. Dr. Emmanuel Kujo is Ghana's Chief Veterinary Officer.
Livestock production remains a cornerstone of economic stability and rural development within ECOWAS member states. Mass vaccination campaigns are among the most effective tools we have to control and, where feasible, eradicate priority transboundary animal diseases. This workshop is therefore both timely and strategic.
Mavis Kabukwas reports for Joy News.
Now, the Civil and Local Government Staff Association of Ghana, CLOGSAG, has this afternoon vehemently rejected the Constitution Review Committee's recommendation for the Controller and Accountant General's Department to be made independent from the Finance Ministry. The department currently operates as an implementing agency of the Finance Ministry, executing government accounting functions, among others. CLOGSAG insists it should remain administratively within the ministry rather than be structurally separated into an independent constitutional body. Speaking at a press conference in Accra, Executive Secretary of CLOGSAG, Isaac Addo, argued that the proposal to elevate the department to an independent status could create institutional confusion and weaken fiscal coordination.
We disagree with the proposals to establish the Controller and Accountant General as an independent or hybrid independent constitutional office. The mandate of the Controller and Accountant General Department falls squarely within the mandate and functional oversight responsibilities of the Ministry of Finance. The CAG operates as an implementation agency of the ministry in executing government accounting, ensuring payments control, and performing treasury management functions. As part of the executive machinery responsible for implementing fiscal policy, the CAGD should remain administratively situated within the mandate of the Ministry of Finance rather than be structurally separated into an independent constitutional body. Implications of making CAG independent. Elevating the department to an independent status could create institutional confusion, weaken physical coordination, introduce bureaucratic duplication, and complete efficient financial administration. B. Implication of appointment of the CAG by the Council of State. Furthermore, we object the proposal for the Council of State to recruit, vet, and make binding nominations to the President for the appointment of the Controller and Accountant General. The proposal is at variance with our firm principles of leaving departmental appointments to governing councils who have the necessary institutional memory to select, vet, and appoint on merit basis an appropriate institutional head. Implication of oversight of Parliament over the performance of the Controller and Accountant General's Department. Like all public organizations in Ghana, the proposal for Parliament to exercise oversight performance of the Controller and Accountant General through its relevant committees in accordance of law is welcome. However, the Ministry of Finance should remain the bona fide body to exercise ministerial oversight over the activities of the Controller and Accountant General.
You've been hearing from the Executive Secretary of CLOGSAG, Isaac Bampo Addo, who has also rejected the proposal for the Council of State to recruit, vet, and make binding nominations to the President for the appointment of the head of the civil service.
We object to the CRC proposal that the Council of State shall recruit, vet, and make binding nominations to the President for appointment of the head of civil service, with the assistance of the Public Services Commission. We recommend removing the special appointment arrangement under Article 193(1) concerning the head of civil service, which requires the President to appoint the head of civil service acting specifically on the advice of the Public Services Commission and align this appointment with the general framework under Article 195 governing public service appointments. For clarity, Article 195(1) of the Constitution states that subject to the provision of this Constitution, the power to appoint persons to hold or to act in an office in the public service shall vest in the President, acting in accordance with the advice of the governing council of the service concerned.
Away from Clockstack, let's bring you a very disturbing story this afternoon where about 16 people are dead following a devastating head-on collision between an ambulance and 4 transit bus at Potikrom in the Ahafwano Southeast District of the Ashanti region. According to eyewitness accounts, the 4 transit with registration number GT6576-19 was transporting passengers from Kumasi to Bechem when it collided head-on with an ambulance with registration number GV527-23, which was reportedly traveling from the opposite direction. The following report has more.
The impact of the crash, reportedly caused by excessive speeding, left both vehicles mangled beyond recognition. The majority of passengers on board the 4 transit are believed to have perished instantly due to the severity of the collision. An eyewitness, Kwabna Stephen, described the scene as horrifying, stating that some of the bodies were severely dismembered and had to be placed in polythene bags and sacks. Other witnesses who spoke to Adum News alleged that the ambulance, believed to belong to St. Mary's Catholic Hospital at Drobo, was overtaking another vehicle when the crash occurred. The Potikrom community remains in deep shock and mourning as police clear the road to ease traffic congestion. Authorities have since launched a full investigation into the tragic incident. Joseph Obin's report for Joy News.
And back here in Accra, it was a solemn and sorrowful moment as families of Ghanaian tomato vendors and transporters who were killed in Burkina Faso a fortnight ago observed the final funeral rites of the victims. The traders were part of at least 20 people who were killed weeks ago in the northern town of Titao in attacks claimed by an Islamic militant group linked to Al-Qaeda. The traditional ceremony, held without the mortal remains of the victims who were burnt beyond recognition, was a reminder of the urgent need for the country to institute pragmatic measures to revamp the local tomato industry. Emmanuel Bright-Kweku reports.
Camfoot is still in disbelief over the sudden passing of her husband. Grief fills her heart as the man who catered for her and their children left without a final goodbye.
I
don't have any other helper. My husband used to fend for myself and the children. Now that he's no more, I don't know how I'm going to cater for the children.
On Saturday, 14th February 2026, unknown gunmen killed at least 20 individuals, including 8 Ghanaian tomato traders in Titao, a small village in the north of Burkina Faso. Among the dead was Aminu Mohammed, a 39-year-old tomato transporter domiciled in the Oforiko municipality. Aminu left the Ashanti region to embark on what would have been a usual routine, carting tomatoes from Burkina Faso down south of Ghana.
I received a call from him on Monday that he's at the border about to enter the country for goods. I tried reaching out to him on Sunday, Saturday and even then, but his line was not reachable. I haven't heard from him as at now.
Sunday Monday so me try no I feel best by this time. Man see me can be me hu ni bi. My friend line so I saw cannot be reached na.
And that was the last time she ever spoke with her husband. Family, friends, and colleagues of Aminu gathered to observe his final rites, but sadly without his mortal remains. His body, together with those caught up in the deadly attack, were burnt beyond recognition. I am sad. He used to fend for me, but he is no more now.
No one who could me quaba no. Ever seen that?
Comfort had wished to bid her lover a final farewell, but what is now left of him are just the memories they shared when Aminu was alive.
My husband was a quiet person. He could stay at home the whole day without going out.
The recent unpleasant deaths of these traders have rekindled an urgent action for the government to revamp the local tomato industry to end what people describe as avoidable deaths.
It
would be good if we could cultivate tomatoes in the country.
The government should help revive the dam so that we could cultivate tomatoes locally. For the families, they may have lost their breadwinners, but they want these deaths to prompt heavy investment into Ghana's tomato and agricultural value chain. For Joy News, my name is Emmanuel Bright Kweku.
May the souls of those that lost their lives in that tragic incident rest in peace, and may their memories be a blessing. You're still watching News Today on Joy News. We return from the break with the latest in business. Don't go anywhere.
Yeah, welcome back. I am Michelle Ejekum. Let's get into our business stories. Now, the city continues to recover strongly against the US dollar for the first 2 months of this year. New data picked from the commercial banks showed that year-to-date depreciation has slowed significantly to under 2%. There's more in this report.
In February last month, the city's rate of depreciation against the dollar stood slightly above 4%. Now, new data that we have picked up from the commercial banks based on their rates showed that it has dropped significantly to 1.65% against the dollar. The development can be linked to improved liquidity support coming from the Bank of Ghana and a slowdown in dollar demand from businesses. Now, if you look at just the month of February, the city actually recorded more than 2% jump in appreciation. This has actually helped slow down the overall performance from January to now to this new level. Now, if the current trend should continue, it's likely that we would end the first quarter of this year with some marginal appreciation against the dollar, a development that has eluded the country in a long while. The Bank of Ghana was hoping to even sell $1 billion through its market intermediation program. However, the market just took about $900 million. Looking at the current spike in crude oil prices, a recovery of the city could go a long way to slow the expected hikes in palm prices locally.
Away from that, a senior lecturer and course lead in business management at St. Mary's University, Kofi Amegashi, is asking government to focus more on creating an enabling environment for private sector-led skills development, rather than taking a dominant role in the process. Speaking at the DTI alumni convocation, Mr. Amegashi stressed that sustainable economic growth depends on empowering businesses to drive innovation, training, and workforce development.
Speaking at the convocation, the senior lecturer Kofi Amegashi argued that while public sector support remains important, innovation and industry-relevant training thrive best when the private sector takes the lead.
But I think government must, first of all, get out of the way, but provide the enabling environment. We're talking about access to finance, access to information. We're talking about access to markets. We're talking about how we build clusters. Right? Government should not be involved in business.
Project coordinator at DTI, Mohit Sharma, scored the importance of strategic partnerships in shaping the future of technical and vocational education.
This is where the foundation is supporting us to train 50,000 people in next 3 years. DTI in the first phase trained about 30,000 people, up to 50% of them being female.
Some alumni also took turns to share their success stories, detailing how practical industry-driven training DTI helped them secure jobs and build thriving enterprises.
So basically, DTI is producing the necessary skills that are needed to equip the youth with what they would have to survive in the world of work.
I opted for the fashion design skills, and we were taking through a series of soft skills that will make us employable in the industry if we are done with the skills and you want to go into the employability sector.
The event served not only as a celebration of alumni achievement, but also as a platform for dialogue on strengthening collaboration between government, industry and training institutions to accelerate Ghana's skills development agenda.
And that'll be all for business right here on Joy News Today. I am Michelle Ejekum. For more business news, please log on to myjoyonline.com. Sports is up next.
Time for sports on JN Today. My name is Haruna Mubarak. Now, the Ghana Football Association has sent a strong warning to error-prone match officials to improve off-face removal. Contentious issues have been raised in the Ghana Premier League, which includes penalties awarded and goals either allowed or disallowed. The FA's referees manager, Alex Corte, says efforts are being made to eradicate standard officiating.
There's an adage that says that I think that is a tree. If you be a Mensa.
So when you see the Mensa, plug them out.
Exactly. So that is what we all need to do. If we see the Mensa are on, you just plug the data person out. You understand? I think that in our own small way, if I say in our own small way, I mean from the referee department and the referees committee, we put in a lot of mechanism, a lot of structures that we are trying to pluck some of them out, but it's been quite slow, very, because we need to be very tactful in doing that. You understand? And so yes, we want to. In fact, this year alone, I can say that we have placed a lot of referees on the ice, either for poor performance. I would not want to use the word poor performance. Maybe errors, decision making, and that sort of thing. And so we put you on ice. We take you through some training, and then when we realize that you are okay, the referees committee will reinstate you, and then they will continue to use. There is one thing about me that I will always say: refereeing is for development. We don't destroy. But where you see a referee who is not in the position to be developed, you kick the person out. You just kick the person.
At what level do you come to the conclusion that this particular referee just does not have what it takes to be developed?
So you have you are appointed in a match. You go for your first game. We see some few errors. We call you. We take you through training. We discuss those errors with you. We are expecting that subsequently, when you go for games, you would avoid those errors, and then you go in again and you repeat them. You understand?
I understand.
It means that such a person, he's not ready for development.
That's your sports on JN Today. My name is Haruna Mubarak.
Welcome back. The shea tree, also known as the northern cocoa, is a major source of income for thousands of women in northern Ghana. Unsustainable logging, charcoal production, bushfires, and land clearing are, however, destroying shea parklands in the Upper West region. The loss of these trees is not only threatening livelihoods, it is also worsening climate change impacts by reducing forest cover, increasing heat, and accelerating land degradation. On climate evidence today, JoyNews' Rafiq Salam reports that climate experts want urgent legislation to protect the shea tree and safeguard the region's climate resilience.
The shea tree, one of the endangered tree species of the northern savanna ecological zone that grows in the wild. Despite its huge economic benefits and potential, its existence is however under threat as it faces extinction from unsustainable logging, charcoal production, bushfires, and land use changes. Head of research and learning at non-governmental organization Punet North.
Shea gives us a lot of money. Annually, I think about $100 million that the country gets from shea. It's a global industry that actually is worth about $2.75 billion.
Acting Upper Regional Director of the Environmental Protection Authority, Jonathan Pierako, equally is not happy about the wanton destruction of the shea and other economic trees.
As they burn the trees, the younger shrubs and those that are not able to survive it, they will die. And at the end of the year, if you see the population of younger trees that probably could have been grown to bigger trees will be dried up, and our women will go and harvest it and go and make their heaps at home.
Years ago, this facility is owned by Sumbawere shea butter processors. It used to be
As you may be aware, Baba Jamal won the Ayawaso by-election yesterday. This is what happened.
I hereby introduce to you your MP-elect in the name of Honorable Baba Jamal Ahmed.
Ghana's former High Commissioner to Nigeria, Baba Jamal Mohammed Ahmed, on Tuesday won the Ayawaso East parliamentary by-election, retaining the seats for the NDC, one they have occupied since 1992.
I, Samuel Mofori, the returning officer of Ayawaso East constituency, hereby announce to you your new MP-elect, Honorable Baba Jamal Ahmed.
Baba Jamal Mohammed Ahmed wins with over 50% of the votes, dedicating his victory to his 93-year-old mother.
I dedicate this victory to my 93-year-old mother, Mimi, for promising to support me and ensuring that one day I'll go back to Parliament.
He pledges that the Ayawaso East constituency will see meaningful change in line with President John Dramani Mahama's reset agenda.
I want to assure the people of East Ayawaso that the resetting of East Ayawaso starts now. We are going to Parliament. We are coming to reset the whole constituency.
The by-election follows constitutional requirement under Article 112 subclause 5 of the 1992 Constitution, triggered by the death of the sitting MP. The residents say they will hold him fully accountable.
The market, Nima market, to be ultramodern. We are expecting a secondary school in our community. We are expecting a recreation center, which we have, but they were fixing it, the Kaukudi Asotef, and it was abandoned.
That's it for JoyNews Today. For more news, you can log on to myjoyonline.com. My name is Kenneth. Jesse, have a good afternoon.